Greetings and welcome to Spiritual Practices for Tough Times, Episode 8. Thank you for joining me wherever you are and whatever is happening for you as we come together today. It's hard to believe how the days are going by. We're on day 26 of physical and distancing and social distancing. It just seems day after day goes by, sometimes slow, sometimes not so slow, and every day is new. This morning on the headlines for the Globe and Mail, it read, on the first day, almost 80,000 apply for emergency benefits in Canada through the government program, which is wonderful that we continue to support each other and care for each other during these tough times. As all this is going on and every day's changing, go outside into our front garden and the crocuses are now coming up, and they're really small ones. If you see there's a key there to give you some idea of the scale, it's just beautiful to see life emerging. And in our backyard, the tulips are continuing to come up. And I don't know if it's a few days or a week, we'll have some amazing tulips and new life coming. So in the midst of our tough times, in the midst of everything that's happening in life, there's always a life emerging from the sacred flow of energy and love and light. And so as we gather today, we light a candle to remind us that there is a sacred light in you, in me, in everything around us. We also light this candle as a reminder that we hold in prayer all those who are on the front lines, those who have been infected with COVID-19, those who are grieving, the ones that we have lost through this, and all the other things that are happening in our normal life. And as we gather, I hope you have a cup of tea or a coffee or something stronger if that's your case. Having a cup of tea together always helps me to remind us that we are all connected in communion and union through a flow that breathes and moves in each one of us. How are you feeling today? How is your life? I hope you know that whatever's happening for you and whatever you may be feeling right now, it's okay. We don't have to judge ourselves or be perfect or have everything in place. I think what COVID-19 is teaching me is that when things fall apart, we don't have to try and grab on to the way things used to be, but we're invited to find new ways to embrace life no matter what is happening, and to know that we are not alone on this journey. How about we begin our time together with our breathing practice? It's a way to connect our breath to the breath of life, to the breath that flows in each of us, and to come into a more centered and still time so that we can work with reality, which is another name for God, just as it is. So I invite you to maybe put your feet on the ground, just sit a little taller in your seat, and I invite you to close your eyes as I ring our meditation bell to begin our time together. So I invite you in this moment of breathing, however you choose to breathe, if it's a 4-square method or just slowly breathing in and exhaling out, to just allow yourself through your breath to come into your body, to come into this present moment. As you breathe in, begin to notice that your thoughts might not be so important, or whatever you're feeling might be softened. As you breathe out, you might just want to let go. So take a breath in. And with each breath you take in, just allow yourself to come more present in your body. might begin to feel your feet on the ground. Your hands sitting softly on your lap. The top of your head. Maybe you might begin to feel a gentleness within you that you can't explain. A tenderness. Just be with that. Be here. Be here now. And if you find yourself clinging to a thought or emotion or a worry or grief or anxiety or expectation, just imagine that goes out with your breath. Just for a few seconds, in the silence of being together, remember to breathe. Take one more breath. And as you slowly open your eyes, do you see any beauty or joy right in this moment? Or do you sense something that you're grateful for, even something really small? Let that be with you and in your body in these moments. How do you feel in your body now? Is your mind a bit quieter? Do you sense the underlying calm that isn't interrupted by whatever's happening in our mind or our emotions, our heart, or around us in this moment? You know, for me, just this few minutes of being in this guided meditation of breathing with you, I even feel a difference. I feel a little more presence. I'm not worrying about stuff that was bothering me before or the mistakes I made in the past. Like, for example, how my tongue was getting twisted at the very beginning and I was mixing up words. That's something I do all the time. But just that moment of being of paying attention to one's breath is part of a spiritual practice. Paying attention is what is put directly before us. That's what we're invited to do in life. Life is this series and this flowing energy that's with us and around us, and spiritual practices help us pay attention so that we can pay attention to what is directly in front of us, wholly and fully. It reminds me of this short video clip from 360 Degrees around meditation and mindfulness that explains how do we just be here now and pay attention to what's happening right here, right now.
We're awake on one level, but on another level, life is often passing us by. All too often we talk about, in our common language, I missed it completely. I was just lost. I wasn't here for it. And sometimes that happens many times in the course of a day. Sometimes we look back and it's a decade later and we ask ourselves the question, where was I for my children's growing up? Where was I emotionally for my life with my wife or my husband or my children? So there's something very poignant about the present moment, since it's always now. All of the stresses in our lives happen now. All the decisions that we have to make in our lives happen now. And yet often enough, we're living in the past, or we're living in the future, but the past is gone. The future hasn't arrived. But now is right here. This is when we hear the sound of the birds. This is when we feel the caress of our child's hand against our face. Mindfulness is a way of beginning to become more attentive to the present moment, to the actuality of being alive, and maybe even more importantly, participating in that act of being alive.
This is the wonderful gift that is for each one of us, even right now during these tough times, where we're experiencing emotional turbulence, where we're experiencing possibly economic turbulence, maybe even experiencing physical turbulence with our health or in many other ways, is that all we have is now. Right here, right now, right where you're sitting in your home as you're watching this. And it's so easy, and it's not right or wrong, but it's so easy to get caught in things. Sometimes about the past, I wish I would have done this differently, I wish this wasn't happening, or how did we not prevent this COVID-19 from happening at all? I wish I saved more money. We're worrying about the future. Maybe we're going out shopping, and we're watching. We have our outside language voice on because we're seeing, what are these people bringing their whole family to the shopping store, or what are these people visiting here, and am I going to get COVID-19, or all these things, and in that moment, our attention and our presence isn't here now, right here it's the only act in town. It's the only thing that's happening, that there's this life emerging. There's this flow of life. There's this sacred dance going around us that holds everything. And it invites us to find what's emerging out of that everything, no matter what is happening. And so one way to understand ourselves and how to become more attentive to the present moment through spiritual practices, through simply breathing or paying attention or mindfulness, is that we have this mind. And this mind, when it's not trained, is like a monkey. And this is what this Headspace video conveys to us.
It's quite normal when we start to meditate for the mind to jump around all over the place. We might find it tends to chase after all the little things, to be constantly moving about, from the present to the past to the future, in fact, to rarely be still at all. Fortunately, the mind can be tamed, not by forcing it to stop or trying to make it sit still. We don't want to trap it. That would just stir it up and create even more movement. But by training the mind, having an awareness of when our attention has wandered off, and gently bringing it back with a kind and friendly hand. In this way, the mind slowly becomes a little less restless. It also becomes more comfortable with this idea of sitting still. In fact, it might even come to enjoy it. This analogy for the mind has been around for thousands of years. Thankfully, so has the knowledge that, with time and practice, we can learn to train this monkey.
So the practice, or any spiritual practice, is how to cultivate this awareness in our being, that no matter how the flow of our emotions want to go, or our thoughts, or whatever is even happening around us, is that we can have this presence, and we can be in this presence. It's like James Finley likes to say, it's one of my favorite quotes these days. He's a modern Christian mystic who likes to say that God is a presence that protects us from nothing. Yet, this presence unexplainably sustains us through everything. I think that's so true. Is how do we fall into this presence that's flowing in our lives as we're challenged with these tough times? See, the practice is not looking behind, not looking aside, not looking ahead. The practice is not creating a certain state of mind or getting it perfect or right or whatever we think it is, something we can control. The practice is not hoping for better or dreading things may be worse. the practice that we're cultivating in these episodes is how to be present, both present to what's going on in our own lives and not suppressing it or depressing it or pushing it away. And the practice is not trying to somehow create in our mind these right thoughts or right emotions, so somehow we can use mythical, magical powers to influence the future. If I just think right, everything will be okay. If I just feel right, everything will be okay. No. It's how do we let go into the here and now with acceptance, with nonviolence, with compassion, with presence, so that we can see what's right in front of us, what's directly put in front of us in life. Maybe the people around us, maybe having a cup of tea and the warmth and the smell and the taste. Maybe it's the crocus coming up in your garden or the tulips. Maybe it's sorrow or grief or fear, and how to work with them in ways that are compassion. And when we do, it reminds me of this video from Green Renaissance from YouTube, in which Brander Patterson, who's an artist from an isolated island, discovers how to work with life and even the own tragedies in his life.
The good thing with glass is that it lets light in really easily. I think people could learn from that. It's this transparency that many people are afraid of. If you're not open, then you're not allowing yourself to be moved. You would probably be more tolerant if you could literally see and reflect on someone else's feeling instead of how it affects you. The interesting thing with reflection, you get so deep into it that you get swallowed by it. People are often very obsessed with understanding things. I think it's good not always to understand. When did logic become interesting? I actually tried to think about nothing for a year. Nothingness and nothing. And surprisingly enough, it gave me nothing. People, they want titles. You want to be a YouTuber and you want to be a lawyer. It could actually be a great thing if you could consider yourself nothing, then you can do anything. So nothing can actually give the freedom of everything. I think I am nothing, but I'm very happy about it. An artist, of course I am, but mainly I am someone who works with light. When you have a painting or something, you have the light that hits the surface and then it comes back to you. When you have glass, the light goes through it. It gets distorted, it changes. And that is the way we are also, the way we perceive things. Information or emotions, it goes into us and it gets shaped and interpreted. That's also why it's very important to accept that there is something moving within you. You have to let things affect you. lost about 70% of my eyesight on my right eye, and I started understanding more about what it is to see. You are seeing with your eyes, but how you perceive things is actually what has any meaning. Overcoming hardship, it makes everything else better. Try things that are uncomfortable, because you might just find meaning, you might find something pleasurable, you might find something inspiring if you go beyond comfort. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be a cynical 99-year-old, because there's just too much happiness and too much to experience in life to not live with bliss when you get old.
With everything that's happening, I think developing spiritual practices in one life is one way for us to become grounded and rooted and present in reality, even in reality that's harsh or troubling. Just like the speaker in the last video said, is that even in that, there can be happiness mixed with sadness and joy. There can be joy mixed with hardship. And a spiritual practice helps us to come into the moment and hold gracefully and gently our life, the ones we love, and even then extend our lives to the ones we have who are strangers, who are suffering, and we are then in this together. I hope this helps. I hope you can take something away from this. I hope it helps you become more present to your life and your being and the ones you love as we gather today. So to end our time, I'd like to invite us into a guided meditation where we practice being here and being now, where we practice go, not because it's what is happening in our mind or emotions or right or wrong or good or bad or should be in or out, but it's just coming into a perception where instead of when we feel things or think things, they can sort of distort reality, and then we go off on this tangent and we find ourselves in some other land than here or now. The spiritual practice just helps us be here and be now. So you might want to, again, put your feet on the floor, or gently put your hands on your lap, and close your eyes as we begin this guided meditation of where we let our thoughts and our feelings or distractions around us just for this moment go off with the breeze. I'll ring the meditation bell to begin our time. And then I invite you just to let your eyes gently close. I invite you to take a deep breath, breathing in and breathing out. And then I invite you to imagine that you're sitting on a beach. Maybe a favorite beach of yours, by the ocean, by a sea or a lake, maybe even one that's on a river or stream. As you're on the beach, I invite you to just take a breath and feel the ground underneath you. And then I invite you to begin to hear the nature around you. Birds, sound of waves. You may even start to feel the gentleness of the breeze tickling your face, drifting through your hair. Just be on this beach. Be in your body. Feel the breeze. Hear nature. Take a deep breath. And as we sit together, if you start to begin to feel that you start to cling to a thought or a story or something that's happened in the past, you feel dragged into the future, maybe worrying or got a list of things you need to do after this, just imagine that you see or feel that thought or emotion just gently go away on the breeze. You don't have to worry about it right now. Just let it go. Or maybe you have a pain in your body, or there's a noise in the room, or sound of something. Just imagine that your attention and awareness of this gently goes away on the breeze. Just breathe. Imagine the warm sunlight upon your face and the gentleness of nature and the beach underneath you. And as we continue to breathe together, breathing with the life breath, breathing in us and everything, breathing with the sacred flow of life that's always with us. Maybe you begin to feel a presence within you and around you. It might feel like spaciousness. Your body might feel lighter. You might feel bigger. You might even feel a vibrancy of feeling alive in this moment. Maybe you feel a bit more awake. But you don't know why or how. It's something you can't describe. But you have this sense of generosity. You might feel warmth throughout your body. You might feel more tenderness within your heart, sweetness, even intimacy. Just breathe with it. Let go. Let life, your life, all of life be. And as I ring the meditation bell to end our time together in this guided meditation, just take one more breath. And as you gently and slowly open your eyes, what do you see? How do you feel? Do you sense now? Do you see the life that has been put directly in front of you? I invite you to hold this as you go about your day. I invite you to remind yourself of this. You may even want to, if you find yourself suddenly going off on adventures with your thoughts or emotions, which is okay, it's very normal, it's very human, just to remind yourself to take a deep breath and to let go and come back into the present moment. Whether it's, visiting with your children or spouse or friends or doing something on Zoom or online, or whether it's peeling a carrot or pouring a cup of tea or taking the garbage out or driving to the grocery store for your once-a-week groceries, or reading the newspaper, or feeling the grief and the troubling news of the day. Just be with it. Breathe. And see what may come. So thank you once again for being with me and my amazing technical team on this journey as we're all in these tough times. And may you be blessed. And may you find hope. And may you trust in the sacred presence that flows in us everywhere and all the time. Take care until we meet again.